Hello, thank you for your attention. Today, I will ask for 5 minutes from you to introduce a short module, e-learning module about how to not be tricked by charts. So as you know, chart is a very powerful and persuasive communication method. As you can see, for a table with numbers and text, usually it's hard for the mind to get the insight. See that compared to this chart, this table, if instead we have this chart, it can be way more memorable, insightful, and the point can be get very easily by everyone. So because chart is powerful and persuasive, it is very popular, especially in these days and age when the amount of information on the internet is overwhelming, and chart is becoming more and more popular every day. But charts can lie, and if they can, they do lie. So this is just one example. As you can see, this is in the 2008 conference where Steve Jobs introduced this chart. Now, my question for you is, which category is bigger, the green one, Apple, or the purple one, other? So think about it for a few seconds. Okay, it can sound like a stupid question because obviously the green part is bigger. No, actually not. The real number is 21% for the purple and 19.5% for the green part. But the chart is in 3D and it's in a very weird perspective that puts the focus on the green part and it tricks our eyes into seeing something which is not true. So for anyone who see chart frequently and having to make decisions based on charts, if you are one of those people, then it is a critical skill to be able to identify misleading charts and to respond appropriately. So not just immediately jump into conclusion or being persuaded by what you see, but also take a step back to look at it carefully and raise questions or research more before you react. And that's why I want to introduce the credibility evaluation framework for charts e-learning module. In this module, it will be online and interactive. There will be quiz and assignments after each of the small lessons. It will introduce a 4 steps framework, which is also very intuitive because it's just the reverse engineering of how you produce a chart. And it will take just 20 minutes. So personally, I think it's a very well spent 20 minutes for this important topic. And after the course, when being exposed to a misleading chart, you can identify its main story and then evaluate if the data, the structure, and the visual of the chart is appropriate or is trying to trick you, and you can raise questions instead of jumping into conclusion or action. When you see a chart, obviously it's trying to tell you a story and it can be very effective, as mentioned. But after that, you should try to see what is the main idea, what is the context, who is putting out this chart, what is their motivation, and what is a possible bias that they can have. The second step is evaluate the visual, because it's also the first thing you see, right? But there are a lot of convention in the way we process visual information, and when we look at the chart, we should try to see if they are trying to go against the convention or not. Like red means danger, green means safe. When the color is darker, it means more density, and when the color is lighter, it means less density. The flow from left to right is when time go by, and from lower to higher, it means the value go up. Thus, the chart follows those conventions. For example, this chart, if you look at this from the point of, look at this from the 2015 point, it's the gun depth go down dramatically and then go up, but also going down? No, because the flow of the AC is reverse. It's reverse. This is genius. I never saw a chart like this before. I researched for this topic, so you can see, even if we know the x-axis is from top to down and it's reversed, my eyes cannot stop seeing the light being going down like this, because it's very powerful, the convention that the brain have, and it's the habit that the brain have in processing visual. After evaluating the visual, you should also evaluate the structure of the chart. Does each of the data series have a clear visual representation? Are the numbers, label, units all clear? Are the axis good? If the chart is of the right type? So, for example, this chart, so it looks good. It looks good visually, and it shows the three colors representing for the three browsers acceptable. But if you look closely at the numbers, it doesn't make sense. So if 31,000 is like the full circle, then how come 29 is only here? This account for 2,000 over 30,000? Like 115? Not possible. So something is very wrong in the way they structure and show the data here. And the last step is evaluate the data. So when you look at the chart, always check to see where is the source data, where is the study, how big of this, how big the data is the scope appropriate, is the type appropriate, is the scale of data appropriate. So for example, this chart is shows the average annual global temperature from the 1880 to 2015. It seems to show that the temperature is very stable, and it's say like there's no problem with climate. The climate change is fake, it's not real. But the axis, if you look at it, it shows from 0 to 110. So in order to imagine better, let's imagine if a doctor show you your temperature, and the temperatures go like this from 0 to 100. Can you say that you are not having a fever? Well, no, because your temperature is always only from 36 up to 42 maximum, and then you're dead. So a way better chart should be 36 here and 42 here, and you will see it go like this, right? It's exactly what happened for this. For the Earth, just 1 degree is significant, so it's much better to show the scale of the data from 55 to 60. So technically you can see that the previous chart is not wrong in terms of structure, but in terms of the scale and scope of the data, it's not appropriate and is telling a misleading story. So after you see that the chart is misleading, you should not take action. You should not trust the chart immediately, but rather raise questions and investigate more. So that is the framework in a nutshell. Of course, in the actual code, I will go deeper with more example and more activity for you. But I hope I already gave you a clear picture of the module. And if you interested in the module, you should register for the mini course now. I'm still developing it, but if enough people interested, more than 10, that's more than 10, then I will make it an actual course to be open soon. Thank you for your time. Have a nice day.